Welcome to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where enduring wisdom meets the strength of presence, and where we uncover the truths modern society refuses to teach men. There are moments when a woman doesn't need to say the words, "I miss you," yet everything in her energy is silently screaming it. Her voice might remain composed, her messages vague, her actions subtle. But beneath all that calm exterior, a storm of longing brews. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the very signs that prove you're still living rent-free in her heart. This video is not about decoding games, it's about understanding emotional undercurrents, about reading what her soul is trying to say when her pride or fear won't let her mouth speak. It's about seeing the truth behind silence, the warmth behind cold messages, the love still pulsing through the walls she's trying to build. And more importantly, it's about what you, as a man, do with that knowledge. Because a weak man chases, but a wise man observes, understands, and chooses presence over pressure, power over panic, patience over pursuit. We'll dive deep into her unspoken signals, ancient truths about feminine emotional expression, and the ways Stoic men have, for centuries, held their power even while being missed. So, stay with me, because by the end of this video you won't just know if she misses you, you'll know how to respond like a man she'll never forget. Drop a comment below if you've ever felt that a woman was silently reaching for you, even when she said nothing. Let's talk about it, brother. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join the Stoic Golden Tribe, where your growth as a man is our mission. Chapter 1. The unspoken language of missing you. When a woman misses you, she doesn't always say it outright. Instead, she speaks in a language you were never taught. Not in school, not by your friends, and certainly not by modern culture. It's a silent language made up of late-night texts, sudden curiosity about your well-being, or a random memory she brings up like it just popped into her mind. But it's never random. A woman who says, "I hope you're doing well," isn't just being polite. She's testing the waters. She wants to know if you've moved on, if you still care, if you'd reply with the same energy you used to have when you were deeply connected. She might not say, "I miss you," but her message says, "I've been thinking about you and I don't know how to say it without sounding vulnerable." Men often miss these signals because we're wired to look for logic, but emotions aren't logical. They're poetic, ancient, rooted in deep instinct. Historically, women have always had to express desire in indirect ways, through glances, tokens, songs, or even silence. In ancient times, a woman would braid a thread from her garment and leave it at a man's door, hoping he'd understand. Today, she leaves you a breadcrumb, an Instagram story view, a song she tags you in, a meme she says reminded her of you. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll think it's nothing. But a stoic man, a man in control of his emotions, observes, not obsesses. He doesn't chase every signal blindly. He receives it, reflects, and understands what's really being communicated beneath the surface. Because when she says, "I miss you," without saying it, she's not always looking for words in return. Sometimes she's just reaching out to see if the bond is still there, even faintly. She's poking at your presence and hoping it hasn't vanished. But here's the truth most men don't hear. Just because she misses you doesn't mean she wants you back. Missing someone is emotional, but it's not always rational. It means there was a connection, a depth, maybe even regret. And while she might not say it directly, she'll show it through her timing, her behavior, and her emotional energy. So what do? You don't panic, you don't overreact, you remain grounded. A man of value doesn't jump at breadcrumbs, he doesn't cling to hope. He knows that if a woman truly wants back in his life, her actions will grow louder than her silence. He watches, he stays calm, and most of all, he continues building his kingdom, regardless of whether she watches from afar or not. Because real men don't lose themselves when they're missed. They become the type of man who is always missed. not just remembered in nostalgia, but desired in the present. Tell me, have you ever caught a woman sending you signals like this? Subtle, confusing, but emotionally loaded? Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about how to see through the silence. Chapter 2. Her silence. Screams loudest at night. There's a certain hour in the night where a woman's thoughts are louder than her pride. It's around 2 a.m., when the world is quiet and no one is there to distract her from herself. This is when her mind drifts, not toward the man who was always available, but toward the man who made her feel something she can't quite replace. That's when she starts missing you, deeply, emotionally, silently. But she still won't say it. Instead, she might like an old picture. She might reply to a story you didn't expect her to see. She might message something vague like, "I just had a dream about you." But what she's really saying is, "I miss the version of me that existed when I was with you." That's what most men don't understand. It's not always you she misses. It's how she felt when she was around you. If you were grounded, strong, emotionally present, and masculine in your energy, that left an imprint. Even if she left, even if she pretended she didn't care, that emotional imprint doesn't fade quickly, and it echoes in her quietest moments. And yet most men respond wrong when they feel her pulling back toward them. They chase, they get excited, they try to pick up where they left off, not realizing that a woman's longing is not permission to return to the old story. It's a test, a spiritual check-in to see who you've become since she left, and if you're still the same man she grew comfortable leaving behind. Listen closely. When she says, "I've been thinking about you," what she's really doing is this: checking if you've grown or stayed wounded. And if your first move is to dive back in emotionally to try and resume the old connection, she will immediately feel her power again. She'll realize you were waiting, holding on, hoping, and just like that, the mystery dies, the balance shifts, and she will disappear again, this time with more confidence that she can come and go as she pleases. But a stoic man, he sees this moment differently. He knows that being missed is not the same as being chosen, that just because she reached out doesn't mean he has to drop everything, that a king does not run to whispers in the dark. So what does he do? He keeps his center. He responds slowly, if at all. He weighs the message, not from a place of scarcity, but from a place of power. He asks himself, does this serve the man I'm becoming? And if not, he lets her miss him. Deeper, longer, until her words are not vague, until her effort matches her emotion, until she stops hinting and starts choosing. Because here's the deeper truth. When a woman says she misses you without saying it, she's also testing to see if you miss yourself. The version of you that was full, confident, purpose-driven. She's reaching out because part of her is wondering, is that man still alive? Or did he crumble in her absence? That's why your response is everything. Not in your words, but in your energy, your boundaries, your stillness. She has to feel that you're no longer the man waiting, but the man she would now have to earn. Because when a man respects himself deeply, it changes everything. She may not say, "I miss you," but her behavior will beg the question, why do I still feel this much for someone I tried to walk away from? Let her feel that question. Drop a comment if you've ever had a woman come back around when you least expected it, and how you handled it. Was it silence? A message? A memory she brought up? Let's hear your experience. Your story could guide another man right now. Chapter 3. The Emotional Trail. She leaves behind. When a woman still feels something for you, even after distance or time apart, she begins to leave a trail. Not of words, but of emotions disguised as everyday actions. She won't say, "I miss you." That would cost her too much pride, but her behavior will betray her heart. Maybe she suddenly starts asking how your family is doing, even though she didn't seem to care when you were together. Maybe she brings up a joke only the two of you shared. Or maybe she does something bolder. She tells you she's been thinking about old times. She's not just reminiscing, she's searching for connection, for memory, for your reaction. The emotionally aware man understands. Women often reopen doors gently, testing the hinges before stepping through. She won't throw herself back into your life. She'll drop pieces of herself along your path to see if you'll pick them up and come find her. But why does she do this? Because for most women, missing you is wrapped in conflict. She might miss the way you made her feel, but also fear re-entering the vulnerability of that space, especially if she was the one who pulled away. Missing you becomes a silent battle between her pride and her desire. So she tiptoes emotionally. She watches your story but doesn't message. She sends a song that meant something but doesn't say why. She reacts to a post, leaves a comment, or posts something that mirrors an old memory, hoping you'll be the one to name it. But a stoic man does not chase trails. He observes them. He knows. If she truly wants to reconnect, she won't just hint, she'll act. And until then, he stays rooted. He doesn't beg for clarity from someone offering only confusion. He doesn't over-romanticize vague efforts. He lets her feel the consequence of absence, because love, real love, requires clarity, not breadcrumbs. Let's go even deeper. In ancient samurai culture, emotional control was seen as a sacred strength. A warrior trained not just to fight, but to feel with precision, to know when emotion was useful and when it was a trap. That's what modern men must relearn. A woman's signals are not a command, they're a test. Can you stay calm when emotions stir? Can you remain unshaken when someone who once had access to your heart tries to knock on the door again with hesitation instead of honesty? You see, a woman can miss you deeply and still not be ready for you. She can reach out emotionally but still be too proud to rebuild what was broken. That's why the emotionally grounded man doesn't get pulled into her orbit. He watches the wind but walks his own path. He doesn't reply instantly. He doesn't start dreaming of old times. He doesn't give up his peace for her confusion. Instead, he holds his posture. He responds slowly, if at all. And when he does, it's from a place of strength, not need. This is what makes her miss him even more. Not the silence alone, but the power behind that silence. The sense that he's no longer emotionally accessible to half-hearted effort. That if she wants back into his life, it won't be on nostalgia. It will be on truth. Because here's what women feel, but rarely say, I want to know you still care, but I want you to care in a way that doesn't cost you your self-respect. That's the balance she secretly craves and respects. And that's exactly what the Stoic Golden Tribe teaches, not to reject women, but to refuse anything less than full presence, full honesty, and full commitment from both sides. Let me ask you, have you ever been in that position where you noticed her behavior shifting but the words never matched? How did you handle it? Did you lean in, or did you stand tall and let her come all the way? Share your experience. Another man might learn from your strength. Chapter 4. When her soul speaks louder than her words. At some point, every man will encounter this paradox. A woman who won't say, I miss you, but everything in her essence is still tied to you. You'll feel it in the way her voice softens when she hears yours, in the hesitation before she replies, in how she tries to sound indifferent, but chooses all the words that once meant something between you. She might say, I hope you're happy, but what she means is there still space for me in your life? She might say, just checking in, but what her heart screams is, I still feel your absence, and I don't know how to live with it. But here's what separates the ordinary man from the grounded, stoic man. The ordinary man gets lured back into emotional chaos. The The Stoic man listens to her soul, but follows his own. See, most men, when they hear that subtle, "I miss you," interpret it as a green light. They think it's their opportunity to win her back, to prove their worth, to resurrect a love that time or pain buried. But what they forget is this: a woman may miss you without being ready to love you in the way you deserve. Missing someone doesn't always mean maturity. It doesn't mean she's grown. It doesn't mean she'll treat you better. It might just mean she's lonely, regretful, caught between memory and reality. That's why your emotional discipline matters more than ever. In the ancient world, in Rome, in Greece, even in the East, the greatest men were not those who conquered with force, but those who conquered themselves. Self-mastery was the ultimate virtue. And one of the greatest tests of a man's self-mastery was simple. Can you remain unmoved in the presence of what once moved you deeply? This is your test. When her messages come late at night, when her jokes feel familiar, when she posts something that sounds like it's meant for you, can you see it for what it is? Not a reunion, but a ripple of emotion. And can you respect the connection without compromising your position? Because let me tell you this, brother, a woman who truly wants you back won't just drop hints. She'll show up completely. She'll apologize without ego. She'll communicate with clarity. She'll rebuild, not with breadcrumbs, but with bricks. One honest effort at a time. Until then, it's not your job to respond to every echo of the past. Your job is to continue becoming the man she thought she could replace, and now realizes she never truly understood. Your presence, your silence, your power. That's what makes her feel your value, not words, not chasing, not emotional vulnerability thrown into chaos, but calm, boundaries, self-worth. And when she feels that, when she realizes the door doesn't open with vague longing, but with real action, only then will you see her truth. Some women will rise to meet you there, others won't. But either way, you win, because you didn't sell your strength for affection. You didn't trade your growth for comfort. You didn't let someone else's confusion define your direction. That's how kings walk. That's how warriors love, not with desperation, but with depth, discipline, and clarity. So if she's saying, "I miss you," without saying it, observe, but don't orbit. Listen, but don't lose yourself. Appreciate the connection, but only welcome her back if she's coming with truth, not tension. You deserve that. If this chapter hit home, tell me in the comments, have you ever held your power in a moment where your emotions wanted to run wild? What did it teach you about yourself and about her? Your story could remind another man of his strength,